If you take the Fanatec Formula wheel and enact a handful of items on my wish list of things that I would have liked to have changed about it, you'll end up with something like the Moza GS wheel. This is easily the most advanced wheel Moza's brought forward in their limited time in this field, and I think it's been made to demonstrate what they can do to the best of their ability. A showcase, essentially. The GS will work with Moza wheelbases only, it can't be used on other manufacturers' wheelbases. There's no doubt that the GS takes heavy inspiration from Fanatec's long-serving and popular Formula rim, which I've owned and used before, but I can say that this is no knockoff. A knockoff is an inferior product copying the original and hoping for success by association. This to me is an advancement of the thing it imitates. Believe me when I say that if I place one of these in your hands, you'll find more revolution than replication. Before we crack on and get into it, Moza Racing sent me the GS wheel free of charge for review on my request due to my interest in the GS. Links for places to buy this are also provided in the video description. Thank you all for using them in the past. None of this changes what I say at all. If I think it's pants, I'll tell you. If it's good, I'll tell you. And the comments are always open for you to see what others think. And if you've got a GS, drop your opinion below. On we go. The GS wheel costs around 450 quid, which to me puts it in the mid-range. The most important thing to note is that it fits that label, whereby a decent amount of wheel is provided to a decent level of finish. Not boutique or luxury, but far from basic. For the money, you get a 300mm Formula rim with suede grips, magnetic shifters, dual clutch paddles, excellent quick release, carbon front plate, metal dials and fun wheels, 10 customizable backlit buttons, and an onboard rev light. It's got some weight to it, but due to its shape, that weight is concentrated near the centre, making it more rotationally lightweight and responsive when your wheelbase is trying to act upon it. In particular, if you're choosing any Moza base below the R16, namely the R9 right now, then this does make a noticeable difference. In cars that really talk to you and track the road surface a lot, the improved response gives you an extra sprinkling of vibrance whilst driving them. So let's do a little tour of the wheel then, because there's quite a bit to see. The box is lovely, nice and clean. It's one of those slidey lid ones that you just have to hold in the air and wait for the goods to just plop out, like a baby horse being born. Birthing it from the Moza branded dust bag, the first thing you're going to feel is the weight. It feels as packed and solid as you would expect for a price. It certainly doesn't feel flimsy. I remember when I first unboxed my Fanatec Formula wheel, the first mid-range kit that I ever had, it felt so far above my trusty Logitech wheel that I just couldn't understand it. If I happened to be 2 years later to the party and bought the GS wheel as my first mid-range wheel today, I would feel just the same. The grips are shod in Alcantara or suede, whatever your name for it. They're a little bit on the spindly side, so if you've got massive builder's hands, then you might find them somewhat thin. I'll get back to this, as one of my criticisms is about the grips. The second thing you're going to instinctively do is click them shifter paddles, and this is one point I just want to get in real quick. These are very loud as standard, too loud if you ask me. But there are rubber sound insulating pads included in the box which cut the volume dramatically and only take 10 minutes to apply. I much prefer it with the paddles dampened in this way, and I'll bet you will too. The noise of the shifter panels rightly comes up a lot in multiple reviews of the GS, but I want to highlight that you don't have to leave them like that. Moza anticipated this and provided the pads necessary if you want to change it. Either way, they are crisp with strong polarization between released and engaged. Just beneath the shifter paddles are the hand clutches. These are vital for standing starts in anything with power, like Formula cars and Porsche Cup cars, stuff like that. In conjunction with the Moza software, you can set these up to be basically perfect every time for those launches off the line. Third thing you'll do is press all the front facing buttons, and these feel really nice with a nice plunge click feel that I saw someone describe somewhere as sort of like a mechanical keyboard. These come alive when the wheel is connected, so we'll come back to those in a sec. Next, you'll probably give all the front dials a twiddle. They're machined from aluminium, presumably, and they have a nice clear step between each notch on the faces. I don't like the stickers beneath them, they stick out a bit on the otherwise stealthy aesthetic, but that's a question of preference, and I'll bet you 50p right now that custom stickers will spring up on sale for these somewhere. The thumb dials are very positive with clear steps that make it difficult to accidentally double dip. Again, they're made of metal, not plastic. 2 twiddly sticks round out the wheel's gadgetry. I use these for navigating menus and boxes. The wheel feels really nice in hand generally speaking, but in this state you're only getting half the story. So let's slap it on this R9 wheelbase and I'll show you the rest. To do that, we get to savour the momentary ka-shunk of the excellent quick release that Moza uses. When the wheel is powered, all the buttons on the GS wisp into life. I'll tell you, I used it for a week, just like this, all the buttons set to the default white, and I thought this is pretty cool, very nice. Then I discovered that all of the backlit buttons can actually be colour changed. This is a brilliant touch and not something you usually see at this sort of price. Sim racing is all about customization, making something feel like it's your own, and that includes colours, paints, liveries and so on. Assigning different colours to each button on this wheel makes it feel like you're taking ownership. It's yours now. Get creative with it. If you drive with a team, for example, you could customise your buttons to match the colours under which you drive. If you are patriotically Spanish, customise the wheel accordingly. It's just buttons and lights, I know, but I already thought the wheel was pretty jazzy before I realised it could do this. That rev limiter light on the top of the wheel is also customisable, but for some reason the limiter on the GS is not very bright. Brightness is set to full here. It just doesn't seem very good at catching the corner of your eye while you're focusing on the screen in front of you. Definitely not as bright as the rev lights on the CS hub, curiously. It would be nicer if it could be much more intense. So what's it like to actually use this wheel? Well, Formula wheels are meant to make you feel like you're in control of the most hardcore advanced race cars, whilst giving you as many buttons as you'd reasonably need for anything you'd want to drive, and the GS qualifies for this. There should be almost no vehicle you're likely to come across in mainstream simulators whereby you find yourself drawing short of buttons to bind. For me, the most button-heavy cars I touch are GT cars and LMP1 cars in iRacing, and there's plenty of wiggle room here to put things where I want them and still have room left for voice chat, exit, menus and so on. I even bought F122 to check it all works okay and everything binds up fine. The wheel itself gives you a serving suggestion on where to put stuff, which helps make the decision for you. The clutch paddles are really important to me. I do have an on-off relationship with the Radical on iRacing, which has standing starts but depend very much on controlled launches, much like all the Formula cars and the Porsche Cup car. In the Moza pit house software you can set the bite point. This means that once you've given your standing starts a few tests and found a clutch and a throttle mix that gives you good launches consistently, you can maintain that bite point setting. Long story short, these dual clutch paddles work for what they are intended for, and once moulded to you, they become an essential tool. Steering wheels are a bit tricky to review because you can see what they look like. All you need to know is whether the product photos are representative of what you'll get, and does it live up to how it looks. It could easily be a yes or no question, so let's do that. Yes, but not without some little criticisms. The hand grips are a little bit on the thin side, meaning that your index finger and thumb might feel like they're overlapping a little bit too much, which gives you a cramped kind of feeling that you sort of know is there, but you just can't put your finger on it, pun intended. It's no deal breaker, but I think a slightly thicker grip would be ideal. What I also find is that my index fingers tend to rest on this element of the grips, the hard edge bit with the hole in the middle. The grip covering really needs to extend upwards to cover that for me. I like the style of the rim overall, but as I said earlier, not these stickers. To create a lovely forged carbon stealthy wheel with teal coloured accents and then put 5 large primary colour Fisher-Price stickers in the middle is a minor misjudgment if you ask me. The only other criticism besides that is the slightly dim rev limiter strip. More juice is needed in those light bulbs to do their job. Really, they could be brighter. Overall, I would say you do solidly get 450 quid's worth of wheel, and it does just as good a job for me as my old Fanatec Formula wheel did, with some notable added goodies and tweaks that make this a better handling wheel, like that 300mm width and some really nice additions like backlit buttons. The GS feels exactly how you think it should looking at the photos. It's not deceptive, it's genuinely well put together and proves to me that Moza Racing are able to, at the very least, match established hardware for quality, if not improve on it. Hopefully this is a first of a long line and variety of wheels they turn out, because so far so good. If you like how it looks, go for it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to check out the links in the description below and let me know if you've got a GS and have thoughts to share, or if you want to ask any questions I haven't answered in the video, drop them down in the comments below. Cheers again.